Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and it's that time, kids. It's time for more Scuttlebutt. This week's game in the background is brought to you by Tier 9 American Heavy Cruiser. Once again, this is USS Buffalo. I had a couple of games in Buffalo a couple weekends ago, back-to-back games on different days that were basically 170,000 damage games or so. And this was the longer of the two, and since I have a lot to talk about today, you get the longer video to keep you company. So, enjoy. So what is going on in Warships? Well, we've got a lot to talk about. It is patch day here on the North American server, so we're going to touch on that. And, of course, just when you thought that all of the drama and the insanity and the really bad public relations decisions might have finally been sort of on the downslope and finally behind us, nope. Wargaming finds a way to make yet another horribly, ridiculously bad decision, and here we are. So we'll talk about that as we get into the video. First things first, guys, a couple of event notices, and this is really exciting for me, so I hope I'm doing this first, and I hope you'll pay attention. Today, as I record this is Wednesday, the 8th of September. And starting, I believe next week, let me go to calendar real briefly. Yeah, so starting next week over on the Crown channel on Twitch, I'm going to be participating in an event. Well, the event is starting next week. My participation is later, but an event called ClickSport-2. If you guys are familiar with Crown, you might not be. I wasn't. Crown is an affiliation of like Twitch and Amazon Prime, Twitch Gaming and Amazon Prime. Essentially, they are creating original content specifically for Twitch, inviting gamers in to do things. And what they're doing is they got this little kind of sci-fi themed tournament that they run. They ran last year for the first time, and they're doing another one this year. They pick out a couple of games to feature, and one of those games they've chosen for this year is, of course, World of Warships. And I've been invited to come help commentate games on their live streams for a couple of evenings later in the month, Tuesday the 21st and Thursday the 23rd of September. They're featuring a game called Garena Free Fire the week before that on the 14th and the 16th. So there'll be 4 episodes of ClickSport-2 coming up later in the month in September. Guys, I hope you'll throw the channel a follow. Come on by and say hi. It's going to be a big event. I believe, if I understand things correctly, they've got some loot and some drops to give away. So should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting. This will be one of the first times I think I've ever worked with a non-player, non-wargaming entity on a Warships event. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. It should be really interesting. Anyway, guys, come on by and check that out. Also, since we're here talking about upcoming events, King of the Sea is returning very, very soon. Second weekend in October will be the first weekend of King of the Sea here on NA. Signups begin soon. I'll put a link down to the King of the Sea Discord so you guys can see the announcement. And just kind of a heads up, if you're putting together a King of the Sea team, now's the time. Start building your roster now so that when signups open, you can get on in there with everything you need. So today's patch day, 10.8 arrives here on NA with the early release of the Soviet aircraft carrier line. It's also World of Warships' 6th anniversary, so if you're used to anniversary events, you're more or less familiar with how this goes by now. Every ship above Tier 5 will get a special little marker tag. You play it once, you'll get some kind of fancy reward for that ship. Tier 10 ships award super containers. That's kind of the big carrot there. Tier 5 through 9 ships this year they award festive tokens, and then festive tokens can be spent on a variety of things, permanent camos and all kinds of stuff. They'll have a little section of the armor you can go spend your festive tokens on, right? They're also coming out with the anniversary permanent camos for a bunch of Tier 7 ships, French battleship Lyon, German cruiser York, Russian cruiser Skurs, Pan-Asian destroyer Gajimata, Japanese destroyer Akatsuki, and Italian cruiser Zara, all getting special one-off permanent camos attached to this anniversary event. And then, of course, again, as they have been, there is a 6 years of World of Warships collection that historically this awards some premium time. I think that's what this one will do. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that close. But anyway, a whole bunch of stuff coming basically over the next 4 weeks. You play the game, you'll get all kinds of free stuff because it's an anniversary celebration. They like doing that. The Dutch cruiser line essentially as of today is in full official release. If you weren't able to get a Tier 9 Johan de Veil boat through the slot machine system, you can now get that ship just by researching it regularly out of the tech tree. And the Tier 10 ship, Gouden Liu, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm probably getting it wrong. Both of those ships will now be available for you to purchase through the regular tech tree. Dutch cruisers here to stay for good. I still kind of find this whole branch a little underwhelming, but there are people that like it. So if that's you, hey, more power to you. Pre-release of the Soviet aircraft carriers also starts today. There's an event running where you will be able to earn, I believe they're called Soviet tokens, through daily bundles, through random bundles that you can buy for the balloons. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Guys, please, I beg of you, never, ever, ever spend doubloons on tech tree ships. Or especially, back that up. Early tech tree ships, early access tech tree ships, right? Just stop. Please stop doing this. Essentially, what Wargaming is telling us is if you take advantage of all of the different ways that you can earn Soviet tokens, you can earn the Tier 4, 6, and 8 ships in pre-release, in early access, without having to spend doubloons. This is a good thing. Let's just hope it's the truth. So yeah, that's going on, and then there's the event that goes with it was this Aircraft Bureau Rivalry. I believe this is meant to be similar to the kind of German event that the event that we got back when they were working on the German destroyers, that release event, that Battle of the Beasts thing. So occasionally you'll pick a team. I think it's once a week you'll pick a team. As you progress through the team, you earn tokens, you earn patches, and so on and so forth. Something that people have been asking for a while, Convoy Mode, finally here. Coming to the game. I'm really curious to try this. I'll probably be checking this out on stream on Thursday night. I've seen a couple of videos around on YouTube, people who went and tried it on public tests. I unfortunately did not make the time to do that, and I haven't watched the videos, so I'm completely coming into this, no idea what's going on. But this is this kind of escort, mission where one team has to play defense and one team has to play offense. Is kind of something folks have been asking for a little while. I'll be really interested to see how this works out, if it's fun. I hope it's fun. The idea is fun. The idea is interesting. So we'll see how it plays out in practice. Let's come into the armory. Tier 8 Soviet aircraft carrier Chkalov is coming to the armory for 12,000 doubloons, 12,000 and change doubloons. So looks like she'll be releasing today with the patch. And then there's some other minor changes in here. You can now buy super containers for community tokens. That's interesting. And then they also added some signal bundles for community tokens. I like seeing that. Giving people more options on how to spend their community tokens is never going to be a bad thing. Big fan of this. Let's see what else is in here. Looks like we added some more. Looks like the Transformers collaboration is not completely over. Looks like we're adding some Transformer camouflages for Republik, Minotaur, Richthofen, and Venezia at Tier 10. So that whole event is coming. If it's not here, the content is being added to the game, and I'm guessing the event will come later. Let's see. There is a special event. You can click the little button in the article to participate regarding to the Independence Day of Brazil, which started actually this past week. The event actually started this past Monday and runs through the week, into the beginning of next week. So you can get a little cosmetic flag there for participating in that. Looks kind of fun. And then the usual round of bug fixes. Lots of changes to submarines, making some changes there, and then changes in hydrophones. Fixing most of the low-tier destroyer depth charge stacks. Most of them only had one stack of depth charges, which felt terrible, because if you missed your one rack, you had to wait 40 seconds to go again. Having multiple racks gives you the ability to saturate an area where you believe the submarine might be, so that's good. And then, let's see. They are giving a slight buff to high-tier German carrier AP bombs. I actually kind of like this. Just because it felt like those bombs were so random, and it sounds like they're saying they're increasing the chance of 2 bombs hitting the ellipse at once. Essentially, it sounds like they're improving the sigma of that bomb drop. I like that idea. Soviet cruiser Nevsky, Tier 10 cruiser Nevsky, getting a small buff. The heal will now heal a little more Citadel damage there, and we're seeing a nerf to Tier 10's FDR. So the torpedo bombers, FDR's torpedo bombers are getting a little bit of a nerf, And then the dive bomb parameters are getting a little bit of a nerf. They're reducing the damage on the bombs, reducing the penetration, and reducing the HE fire chance. So, okay, interesting. Pulling in the reins a little bit on FDR, which I agree with. That ship is kind of ridiculous. And there's a whole list of other bug changes there. So, yeah, 10.8 is here, and all that is going on. Now, what I thought we would be talking about, what I wanted to be talking about, what I talked about on stream last week, right, was after all of the train wreck events of the past few weeks with the CC Exodus, the diss on Mouse, and how that situation has been mishandled, let's say, by Wargaming. Late last week, on the 2nd of September, Wargaming posted a large post to the community. Here's, addressing 3 primary topics: monetization, feedback, and communications. And if you remember, many of the CCs that left highlighted these as 3 of the big issues that they had with how things were going with Wargaming at the time. And so, to their credit, Wargaming came through, wrote a post, and acknowledged these issues, and at least tried to kind of give their side of the story on them. Okay, fair. I went into this a little bit on stream. I won't dive into this real deeply here, except to say that there's a whole lot of stuff in this post. Most of these metrics are a ways out. The only one that's near term, the only one of these things that they commit to do that's near term, is the statement about the community contributor program. Basically, they say the exact quote is, "We will update the program both in terms of rules and the way we work with it internally. We expect to have some sort of internal plan and first action points ready in the second half of September, and then proceed with changes during the fall." So, what does that mean? Over the next 3 weeks, if we're in the CC program, like myself and many other contributors, we will apparently see what their plan is for the future. That's the only one of these goals that's near term. It's going to make it really hard. Really hard's not the word. It's going to make it incumbent upon us as players in the game to hold them to this. For many years, Wargaming has been really good about saying one thing and then not really delivering. They have to deliver on this. They do. They really do. If they're going to regain any of the trust that they've lost with the community, and believe me, they've lost a lot, they're going to have to deliver on this. Even if they get just partway down this road. Let's assume for a minute that we get 6 months in and they've managed to tick off 3 of these boxes. That's positive progress, guys. If we are intellectually honest with ourselves, even the Wargaming haters amongst the group have to acknowledge that, well, so far, they're following through. The real test, in my mind, won't come until the end of next year, because there's several things on this list that they commit to doing within a year. Okay, so basically, we have to come back and do a video and have a conversation next Labor Day here in the States, right? The end of August next year, basically, first week of September, and say, all right, scorecard time. Let's go back and pull up this old post and see where we're at. Did we achieve these things? If they have, well, I mean, I feel like that's a really big feather in their cap. If they haven't, that leads to a different conversation. Anyways, I won't get into this post. I did a little bit talking about it on Twitch. I'll link that clip below. You can have a scope, check that out. You can read the post for yourself. We can talk about it in the comments. Because, of course, in true Wargaming fashion, guys, there is an even more ridiculous thing we have to talk about. If you go back and you read through the original mess that started with HMCS Yukon and Mouse's review thread, and I'll put a link to the thread in the video. You can go back and read the original thread on that. And essentially, Mouse was like, look, we tried to reach out to Wargaming about all of this. It was a giant train wreck. They didn't talk to us. They didn't communicate with us. One of the original people involved, not in that half of things, but in kind of getting Yukon's idea off the ground, bringing it to life, was a member of the Wargaming NA community team. I believe at the time he was a super test coordinator. That sounds correct. Don't quote me. I wasn't working with him at the time. But this man was Gneisenau 13 on the NA server. He was a member of the NA, basically the NA office for Wargaming. And I met Gneis. Great dude. I met him at several different Anchors Away events over the years. Really awesome dude. Hard worker, super stand-up guy. Ex-Marine. Well, you're never an ex-Marine, let's be honest. But retired Marine, let's say. And, yeah, just super dedicated to the game. Great guy. Earlier this year, before the Yukon story broke, he had chosen internally, I think, to shift over to the World of Tanks team. So when the Yukon story broke, he was actually had more or less left his interaction with the Warships community on NA. Not completely. He would still show up in the forums from time to time and say hello and chip in and whatever. Chime in, right? Say a few words. But was not actively working on that side of the community team. And then when all of the Yukon stuff broke in, I don't know, what was it, April, May, whenever it was, he was the sacrificial lamb. He was the scapegoat that Wargaming offered up essentially as, well, this is your fault. Here's a sword. Somebody, I forget if I saw it on Discord or the forums or Twitter or something, but he was essentially, when the Yukon story broke and Mouse kind of revealed how that had all gone down, he was essentially handed a sword and told, here, go out on this forum thread and fall on this sword. And Ganice, to his credit, did just that. You can go find his post in that thread. I'm pretty sure it's still there. And when I remember reading it for the first time and being so disappointed because it was obviously the kind of communication that he had been told, you have to go write this. You have to go do this. This is on you. You know, go fall on this sword. And I remember being really frustrated by that because you shouldn't do that to your employees, right? That's just... I was frustrated at the time. I'm frustrated now, okay? But I'm frustrated now for a different reason. Because now, 4-ish months later, after all of that, let's say, 3 or 4 months, I don't remember when the Yukon story broke anymore. I think it was June, so maybe only 3 months. He's no longer with the company, right? He's let go, presumably for cause because of his involvement in Yukon's mess at the beginning. I find this very frustrating. We have had such an incredibly difficult time keeping good people in the Wargaming NA office to begin with. Okay? In Warships specifically, I know less than zero about the tanks team. So I can't speak to that and I won't speak to that. But on the ship side, we have had an incredibly difficult time keeping people. And now, the message that you've just sent to anybody you might potentially hire, anybody who's already on the team, is screw up. Not only are we going to hand you a sword and feed you to the ravenous internet mob, it might cost you your job. So don't screw up. You can't work in an environment like that. You can't work in an environment like that. I've worked with professional engineers with 3 decades of experience that screw up. I screw up. I've screwed up as an engineer, right? With 12, 15, 20 years of experience. You're human. People make mistakes. This happens, okay? Sometimes you have to discipline people for their errors. I get it. And on rare occasions, yes, I acknowledge you have to terminate people for really bad screw-ups. But usually what I find is you only terminate people for really bad screw-ups when they screwed up, they didn't own up to it, and then they went out of their way to cover their own ass. Because that sequence of events shows that the person you're dealing with is not interested in owning their mistake and correcting it. It only shows they're interested in running away from it, leaving someone else to clean up the mess and trying to hide their involvement in it. That's not the kind of not the kind of person you want on your team. Okay, I freely admit, if I had an engineer like that worked for me, I'd can. If something like that happened, I'd can him too. I'd go to HR. I'd go to my boss. I'd fight to get rid of that guy on my team because that's poison. You can't have somebody like that on an effective team. But I've met Ganice. That's not who he is. That's not who he is. And so seeing this happen to him just absolutely, not only does it break my heart, it pisses me off. It pisses me off. At a time that we desperately need high quality, competent, experienced people to get hired on in the Wargaming NA office. This is the message you're sending to these people? This is the message you're sending to your potential candidates? It's a failure of leadership. It's a failure of leadership. I don't know. Yeah, it's a PR blunder. It is a PR blunder. But, like, come on, guys. Come on. I don't know. At this point where I am with all of this, is it's like I'm kind of just waiting to see. I want to see who they hire to run the NA community side, right? I want to talk to this person. Ideally, in a perfect world, I want to meet this person. I want to interact with them outside of Discord and chat and whatever, and see what I'm up against, see what I'm dealing with now that we're on about to be our third or fourth community manager since I joined the program, right? And fingers crossed. But I tell you, I don't know that I have the patience to deal with this much longer, just because the revolving door is exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. Anyway, guys, yay more drama. Go check out the Wargaming announcements. It will be interesting to see if they can hold themselves to this. 10.8 is here. Dive in, have some fun with that. Let all this drama roll off your back, because if you don't, it'll just ruin your enjoyment of the game. And out-of-game drama, in my opinion, should hopefully not ruin your in-game experience. I try not to let it when I can, and I don't always succeed, but I do try. In the meantime, guys, 10.8's here. Patch day on NA. Go enjoy that. Wash your hands. Be safe. And I'll catch you next time.